Yeah, I was just gonna say like the carbon, like your carbon footprint versus your blood footprint. I mean, really, like your carbon footprint has nothing to do with the amount of electricity you're using. There just can't be any way that the carbon or the fossil fuels that we're using for electricity and stuff are coming from anything other than our oil. I mean, if you can say that I'm wrong or if that I'm being stupid or ignorant for implying that electricity really isn't doing as much pollution as oil is, I mean, go ahead. But I don't really see how that's the case. The only real case I'm making is that you just shouldn't be using the oil, which is coming from the carbon. I'm not saying I'm never going to use the oil again, but I need to definitely take a break from it. I may never drive again, so yeah, like myself, it is what it is. Like I have a driver's license. I'm just and I my dad gave me a car, and I'm just choosing not to use it. I don't like being in that position. It's like having a pack of cigarettes on you and going into town and everybody's asking you for a cigarette. Everybody's asking me for a ride. I don't want to contribute to that. I was driving for my job. I didn't want to have the job where I had to drive. And I don't want to get myself caught up into a situation where I'm like, okay, well, I have to backpedal. I mean, I've already backpedaled enough. I'd rather just just move forward from here without a car or ride a bike or whatever I have to do. Yeah, ride a bike to work. So that's all I was really that's all where I'm at. That's really where I was at, with all that. So, trying to most likely get a job and just focus on the message and not the messengers. Whether they drink or do drugs or eat meat, I mean, it's all the same. At the end of the day, I don't have to do drugs, I don't have to drink, and I don't have to eat meat. I don't have to um, contribute to sucking the carbon up from the ground, uh, that was here and fossilized through atmospheric pressure that really, well, it's just in it from it's from an atmosphere that fossil fuels and the oil and all that stuff, the carbon which is in our oil, it comes from uh animals, reptiles or dinosaurs and everything that were living in an atmosphere that is completely incapable of sustaining our human race. And people don't think that's dangerous. People don't think that that's it's a far shot that something is likely to happen in the near or distant future. Now with electricity and all that stuff, and the electricity causing pollution, I mean, what other than of course it's causing pollution, but it seems to be causing more light pollution than anything. Um, and is light pollution really, on the outside, it just doesn't being on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem as if that would be doing as much harm to the environment as whether it's the carbon monoxide coming from the cows or whatever that is, or the carbon monoxide coming from the cars, pollution through the cows and the cars. So yeah, I mean, I think it's bullshit that people have to work for YouTube, and YouTube isn't just a an organization for nonprofit. It's true. It's true. It has just become sort of a LimeWire where you can just go and pirate, pirate, bootleg, whatever you have to do just to gain something like music and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, it's a lot more capable of doing constructive and destructive things. So, yeah, whether or not electricity though is sort of propelling us into our demise, I can't really agree with that. I don't know where the thought comes from that we should all be raw vegans and everything. I don't really or that we should waste the invention of electricity, or we should say the invention of electricity is equivalent to the widget. I mean, the invention of electricity is equivalent to the widget. Thomas Jefferson is no better than the inventor of the widget. Sorry, Thomas Edison is no better than the inventor of the widget. Or the person who created the toilet is no better than the person who created the widget. Um, that's sort of the same thing for me. So how cooking your food, gives you cancer or whatever. I mean, somebody just please argue that, because there was just those raw vegans made public on YouTube, saying they were raw vegan and trying to treat their cancer with raw veganism and all that stuff. So, losing sight of reality and trying to be invested in it for yourself and your message and everything, I see how that applies, but I don't know why it has to apply when everything else is going on. Now, something was said by John Rose today. Yes, we shouldn't have babies unless we understand the disease process through his application, or through his theory of application, or his application of theory, which is that we just completely destroy ourselves with cooked food. Vegan, vegetarian, it doesn't matter. If you're not raw vegan, you don't have what it takes. Um, so, all throughout my early years coming out of high school, sort of becoming brainwashed clean, I was realizing that raw veganism was very important and everything. And then, you have two people made public about, um, all about that message, and one of them dies of cancer. Um, the there's no other crime than the crime that exists within ourselves, the crime that has propelled us through the evolutionary mechanics of where we're at today as human beings. Evolution of over 2 billion, 20 billion years. A DNA molecule that just consumes, reproduces, and that's what makes us addicted to the things we're addicted to, and the parasites that we are. Um, so it's what's made us cannibals in the past, and the parasites of the world today. And we shouldn't look past this. We shouldn't look past that as to say, okay, if we all, go vegan or anything. I mean, just try to think of a realistic outcome of how everybody could be raw vegan. I mean, vegan is pretty easy. Well, obviously we're gonna run out of earth, and we're gonna have to do something about the plants that we're producing, or producing in massive quantities. The plants that we're producing in massive quantities are feeding the cows that were produced, or the animal, the pigs, cows, and chickens. I mean, mostly just the cows and pigs, but like the cows that we're producing in massive in massive quantities. So if we run out of space to grow the plants, are we really going to choose to live without plants, or are we just going to say, well, we don't have enough plants to feed the cows and us, so we're just going to feed ourselves, and what, take out the last of the cows and eat the last of the cows. So, um, from there, is our soil going to be good enough? Is the earth going to be good enough to sustain ourselves off fruit? Um, Looking at fruit as something, or doing raw veganism for Africa seems like a little far fetched to me. It seems sort of a little backwards. Sort of a little backwards. I don't really understand how, um, logically, that is, such a great idea to try to propel Africa into some sort, or bring Africa here, or bring the tropics here, to America or the States. It just doesn't seem, very plausible. And whether or not there's any evidence that our brains grew from cooking our food, it doesn't really make a difference. But I just feel like you're making raw veganism into the widget. Um, raw veganism is the widget, because it's just some silly invention that's only going to be here for so long, and then people are going to realize that they've been raw vegan for 5 or 6 years and they're still getting cancer. I don't think you can have an immunity from any of this stuff, and even John Rose will vouch for that. whether you're raw vegan or not, you still don't have immunity to these cancers and all of this stuff that the disease process does consist of, and the disease process expanding and growing as humans expand and grow in population and evolution. So yeah.